Hello. Look at the shape of my head. It's a circle. And my body? It's a rectangle. Everything we see can be broken down into shapes. A car is just a rectangle, a rhombus, and two circles. A house is just rectangles and triangles. It's important that artists see these inner shapes in their subjects. It makes translating it on paper or sculpture or whatever your medium is easy. Plus, using those shapes to your advantage can drastically improve your art too, but that's for later in this video. Look at the Loomis method, for example. It starts with a circle for the main mass of the head, and the jaw is kinda sorta this triangular rhombus looking shape. The nose can be a triangle, the eyes circles, and the lips circles and an oval. Try not to think too hard about it though. It's not a technical science, just whatever you see, put it on the paper. A torso is just a 3D rectangle with a 3D triangle in front of it for the chest, and spheres for the shoulders, and cylinders for the arms and neck. Yeah, literally anything can be broken down into shapes. Have you ever looked at the artwork of a professional and wonder how they composed something so perfect? But you don't really know what it is that makes it so good. Shape language might have a part to play in it. An experienced artist will put down confident shapes. It's called shape language because it's the language of shapes. I know I just said the same thing twice, but I think you understand what I'm trying to say. If you don't, what I'm trying to say is that you would be surprised at how much you can communicate with shapes. Shapes show personality and emotion. A chibi, for example, is very round and squishy looking, which makes it look cute. A shonen manga panel, however, might have sharper shapes and seem messier and have a lot of movement lines. And all of this is done to portray action and movement and impact in the frame. Not only do shapes set the vibe of the piece, but it's important for having memorable characters. Look at this silhouette. Unless you live under a rock, which I don't doubt some of you do, you can immediately tell who this is. That's because the shapes used in this design, especially the hair, are so outlandish and memorable. You see how powerful shape language can be, so I'm going to give you a few tips to improve your shape language and take you from level 1 art goons to level 100 mafia artists. First tip.
Do not be afraid.
An experienced artist will use shapes confidently. Do not shy away from exaggerating them. I mean, you can really exaggerate them. Look at this schnoz. You know, I actually love that word. I feel like we as a society should use that word more. I don't think we use it enough, and it's just so goofy sounding. Anyway, yes, this is how a nose looks in real life, but you can really stretch the limits of the shape of the nose and get some unique character designs. Side note, it doesn't only have to be the nose. I just use this for example. Any part of the body this can be done to, so long as it still makes sense while you're doing it, it can be done. Next tip. Shapes can tell a story and take your eyes on a journey. Look at this manga panel. The first thing you probably noticed was the big swooping shape at the top. The artist intentionally did that because they knew that the swoop would catch our eye. But if we follow the swoop to its end, we see the collision point and the main focus of this panel, which was the collision of the hand to the face. Another example, look at this art piece from Luke Leo. It's very elegant. It reminds me of the OG artists from like the Renaissance. But that's besides the point. Look at the wings of the angel. They resemble a V shape. The V subconsciously tells us to look at the converging point. And what's in the converging point? The angel, the main subject of the piece. Notice how the wings brought us to the main focus. But that's not all. After we acknowledge the presence of the angel, our eyes naturally move to the hand because of how high raised it is. And what's in the hand? A sword, which is a straight line pointing downward. The sword not only is a prop in this piece, but also acts as an arrow telling our eyes where to look, and which in this case is downwards. And what's downwards? Side note, the way I'm asking these questions really make it sound like I'm teaching a class of 4-year-olds. Anyway, back to the video. The demon is at the bottom of the painting. Also now we see the full picture. The wings point to the angel has his hand raised, in the hand is the sword, and the sword points down to the demon, and the demon is at the bottom. So now we get the full picture, which is the angel is triumphant over the demon. Next tip, be careful of poorly placed shapes. A rule of thumb is to break up your shapes. Look at this cartoon character. He looks off, doesn't he? But why though? Well, it's because if we look at his arm and leg, they are all on the same line. It makes the way he stands look funny. If we just break up the shape, by that I mean move the hand down a little bit, it seems much more natural. Next tip. People love curves. And I don't mean the thick thighs, you down bad bums. Rectangles are good for blocking out your subjects. There is a time and place for them, like buildings, or cars, or benches, or anything man-made basically. But in nature, you rarely see straight lines in 90-degree angles. Organic shapes are rounder and curvier and bumpier. For that reason, we are subconsciously attracted to them. The first rule in gesture drawing is finding the curve of the center line. Look how curved these center lines are. And these center lines are supposed to represent the spine, by the way. Like I said, don't be scared to push the limits. You will be surprised what people's bodies can do. Just look at your average hentai. But yeah, people are attracted more to curves, so use them to your advantage. Like in the gesture drawing example, use them to pose your characters. Or, look at the hair from this exceptional artist. I don't know how to pronounce her name properly. Rizaros, I think. Anyway, look how curvy and flowy the hair is. Look at this big, poofy dress. Isn't it just so aesthetic to look at? It's cause its circular nature is pleasing to the eyes. This applies not only to the cutesy-like art styles, it can apply to any art style like gore, comic book art, shonen manga panels, any art style, realism. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite artists is a realist, and his name is Jono Dry. His name is Jono Dry, and he made this. Ignoring the technical mastery that is his shading, I mean, I just don't know how he does it with graphite at that. But anyway, look how big and dynamic these horns are. And notice how they take up the most space. Why? Because people like the curves and it catches your eye. But yes, we see the man with the water splashing on his face. That's good and all. We're not taking away from that. But obviously, the fact that the horns are so blaring, they are very obviously meant to be the center of the piece. Finally, balance. As much as people like curves, there is such a thing as too much. So when you compose your drawings, keep that in mind. Look at the calf. It has the curve of the muscle, but it's complemented by the straight line of the shin bone. Look at the side profile of this voluptuous woman. Anyway, notice how the top half is a curve and a straight line, but it's complemented by the same thing, but in reverse. You need that balance. Remember, people yearn for the curves, so make the curves the centerpiece. This artwork by Marco Bucci is so aesthetic to look at. It just looks happy and chill, and it seems like a vibe. Look at the main character though, the giant fluff monster and the kid. They both have all the motion in the piece. And by motion, I don't mean actual motion like running or walking or jogging. I mean shape motion. Like the kid, look at his dynamic pose. Reference back to the gesture drawing. And the fluff monster, well, he's a literal circle, the embodiment of a curved shape, which I've been emphasizing for like the past 10 minutes. But it's balanced by the straight geometric lines of the buildings lamp poles, and umbrellas. Or look at the art of another one of my favorite artists, Laura H. Rubin. And y'all, I can glaze her. Yo, pause. Not her. Her art. Oh, I think her art is good. That's what I want to say. I hope this doesn't get taken out of context. What I mean to say is that, anyway,
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
look at how the delicate curves of the woman's body are complemented so well by the contrasting roughness and jaggedness of the pointy, triangle-like shapes of the feathers. I mean, do I even have to say it at this point? Look at how the straight lines of the jacket complement the delicate gestures of the hair and curves of the ribs and dove wings. I came here to teach all of you, my art children, about shape language, and this somehow turned into a glaze fest of my favorite artists. Also, if I have to say curve or curvy or any variant of the word curve or shape one more time, I might actually crash out. So that being said, I'm going for my own sanity. You're still here? Why are you still here? Nah, don't leave now. Since you're here, consider liking and subscribing and, probably clicking all the links in my description, checking them out. Yeah. Alright, you actually need to go now.